Ampere is the unit of electrical current, and electricity powers Opel's Ampera, currently hitting roads in Europe. This European model of the Chevrolet Volt leaves other electric cars in the shade. Its lithium-ion battery takes it distances between 40 and 80 kilometers on battery power alone, depending on driving style, road profile, and outside temperature. This is the Ampera, styled from front to rear. The boomerang shape of the lights give it a dynamic look. With 4 seats and 5 doors, it's a practical all-rounder with plenty of space and a good range. If the electric motor doesn't take it far enough, the gasoline combustion engine extends its range to 500 kilometers. And after 4 hours of charging on a conventional 230-volt outlet, the battery is full. Opel's Ennofuchs tells us it's hard to pin down the Ampera's target audience. It's almost as broad as society as a whole, he says. Some buy the Ampera out of concern for the environment. Others are fascinated by the technology. Owners range from civil servants to IT entrepreneurs, to just people who want to add the Ampera to their collection. At the heart of the Ampera is the Voltec electric drive system. Next to it, the 1.4-liter gasoline combustion engine. When the charging level of the battery drops below a certain critical value, the engine kicks in. But the combustion engine can't propel the car on its own. It just drives the generator that provides the electric motor with current. The electric motor has a peak power of 111 kilowatts, giving a maximum speed of 161 kilometers per hour. But the Ampera is anything but sluggish, packing 370 Newton meters of torque. The battery can't be recharged using the combustion engine, since it only provides the amount of current required for immediate use. But there are 4 different ways the driver can influence how fast the battery will discharge. Thomas Guest of Opel demonstrates. The standard setting in normal mode is good for a relaxed drive, he says. In addition, there's sport mode, mountain mode, and city mode. Guest says sport mode really shows the Ampera's athletic side. Mountain mode should be turned on before entering steep terrain. And the city mode is designed to save battery power. Gers tells us how the range-extending modes will maintain energy reserves for urban and restricted low-emission zones. And there's a special display designed to teach drivers to use energy more sparingly. Thomas Guest points out the efficiency display in the driver information console. Drivers are supposed to keep the ball in the middle because that represents the most efficient use of fuel and the greatest range for the car. If he were to brake suddenly, the ball would turn yellow. Now he's accelerating. The greater the acceleration, the higher the ball goes. Gers says the idea is to get drivers to think green. Welcome to Opel's state-of-the-art dashboard. The all-digital instrumentation panel provides drivers with a flood of information. But don't expect to find any conventional dials here. The center console offers some unusual storage room. The display isn't operated by a switch, but controlled from a touchscreen area beneath it. The Ampera's starting price in Germany is still a hefty 42,900 euros, so Opel managers have been surprised by the considerable early interest in the car. The demand for the Ampera is much higher than expected. Opel had forecast sales of around 8,000 for 2012. Now that prognosis has been raised to 10,000. Opel's battery system carries a warranty for 8 years, or 160,000 kilometers. For drivers, the Ampera offers almost limitless e-mobility. What more could one ask, except a more affordable price tag? 5 compact cars with diesel engines. 4 are old acquaintances: the Golf, the Focus, the A3, and the Giulietta. And a new contender has joined the race, the next generation BMW 1 Series.
Test driver Jörg Malzen says the compact class is the most highly contested market segment in Germany.
All 5 candidates have 140 horsepower and diesel engines. The newcomer is the BMW 118D with 143 horsepower. Malzen asks whether 3 extra horsepower is enough to leave the competition behind, but the number 1 in the BMW name says where it's pointed. So the goal is clear. Now the race can begin. The Audi A3 Sportback is the senior in the field. Not flashy, but with lots of convincing arguments in its favor. Fine workmanship, ample cargo space. However, the automatic air conditioning costs 1,425 euros extra, and there's no simpler variant. The chassis offers a ride with comfort and stability, although some critics feel there could be more steering feedback.
Jörg Malzen says the Audi A3 may be showing its age, but its body still has plenty to offer.
With the next generation A3 in the works, he says, it's still a major contender in the compact segment. Now, this car exudes Italian passion. Alfa Romeo's Giulietta. The design is close to perfection, but unfortunately the workmanship isn't. Still, the engine is fun. The dynamic setting gives a turbo overboost to raise the torque by 30 Newton meters. The fun factor can only really be enjoyed in the front, though. The back seats are cramped and not recommended for tall passengers.
Jörg Malzen acknowledges that the Giulietta is a bit of an outsider, and although it's technically state-of-the-art, most people buy the car for its design.
Just look at the front with the giant Scudetto grille, he says. What a beautiful shape. Something for form freaks. The BMW 1 Series has grown up. It's 8.5 centimeters longer than its predecessor, but the interior is still less spacious than, say, the Golf. The BMW is the only rear-wheel drive car in the quintet, and with 105 kilowatts of power, the 118D is 2 kilowatts ahead of its rivals. All models have a driving mode switch. The Eco Pro mode ensures efficient fuel consumption, with air conditioning, seat heating, and engine control reduced to a minimum, which saves 0.3 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. The stats put the BMW well in front, but at 34,400 euros, this test car with all its extras is the most expensive of the 5. Jörg Malzen says the BMW clearly wants to be number 1, in accordance with its name. It's bigger, packed with more technology, and it's more efficient and better overall. Of course, every car maker claims that, says Malzen. But he warns the Golf and others are tough competitors.
Im Umfeld mit Golf und Co. hat natürlich super harte Konkurrenz.
We've checked out the Audi A3, the Giulietta, and the BMW 1 Series. Now we look at 2 more to complete the quintet. The Ford Focus plays it safe. It's modern, but not flamboyant. The cockpit can be a bit confusing. The handbrake and gearshift positions take some getting used to. Road performance is solid, but although it's been out for a year, the Focus doesn't offer auto start-stop or adjustable suspension as an extra. That means points off in terms of driving comfort. But it gets thumbs up for the nearly 600 kilogram load capacity that makes the Focus a real workhorse. Jörg Malzen sees the Ford Focus as a mainstay of the compact sector. Solid technology packed in a sporty body at a fair price. That's his verdict on the Focus. Then there's the VW Golf. Often challenged, but always setting new standards in the compact class. In fact, it could be said to define the compact class. It performs superbly in all areas, offering the most spacious interior, combined with high driving comfort. The Golf is the great all-rounder and takes a convincing lead in technical areas and in all the categories that buyers are looking for.
So
here we have the VW Golf, says Jörg Malzen, the 6th edition, Germany's best-selling car. And why? For him, it's the solid construction, the incredible attention to detail, and he doesn't see the Golf being dethroned anytime soon. 5 small family cars with diesel engines face off, and if solid facts are going to decide the race, there can only be one winner. For test driver Jörg Malzen, it's the VW Golf, the defending champion that has the best characteristics. But he was surprised how close the BMW 118D came with its 143 horsepower. Malzen says its rear-wheel drive makes it fun to drive, but the cramped back seats put it behind the Golf. He awards 3rd place to the Ford Focus, which he says offers lots of car for the money. Then the A3, a bit long in the tooth, but still going strong. And in last place, the Giulietta, with technical flaws, but great for style fans. So once again, the Golf has defended its lead. The BMW 1 Series comes in 2nd, but it's definitely snapping at the VW's bumper. Major high-tech electronics companies come together every year at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. This exhibition hall showcases tomorrow's technology. Ford is presenting the Evos in a concept version. Under the hood, this model has a plug-in hybrid heart. By evaluating the route, the Evos decides which engine will give the greatest range. Asian manufacturers have brought their electric vehicles too. At this venue, Audi Connect is the buzzword for network mobility. Audi is the only car maker offering customers an online Google Voice point of interest search. That means that places can be searched for using voice-operated software and examined in Google Street View. The C-Class is one of Mercedes' most successful models. Over 8.5 million have been sold since it was introduced back in 1982 as the Mercedes 190. Today, our test driver Sascha Knapp is taking this Benz for a spin around the busy streets of Cologne. Our tester says you won't find too many young people behind the wheel of a C-Class. He says that's due to its high price and its conservative design. Our test car sells for close to 47,000 euros. That's a lot of money. And when it comes to the design, here beauty really is in the eye of the beholder. But there's no denying that the Mercedes comes with all the bells and whistles. The start-stop function comes as standard and is a bit special. Sascha finds the Mercedes start-stop function very good. The engine switches off when you're standing still, as well as when you just want to roll ahead a little. Other start-stop systems don't do that, he says. He's also never seen one that starts up again as quickly once you take your foot off the brake. Our test car came with an eye-popping optional extra, a sat-nav that displays prominent buildings, like the Cologne Cathedral, in 3D. Our tester says the C-Class's 225 kilowatt engine is anything but old school. Fuel consumption has been reduced by 3.1 liters to 6.8 liters per 100 kilometers. And with 370 newton meters of torque, you get where you're going in a hurry. The C-Class's entire front end is now in keeping with Daimler's new design language. The low-set air inlets at the outer edges under the bumpers put the entire vehicle closer to the road. Lots of luxurious details, elegant trim, and quality materials make the car a feast for the eyes. But it's not just the design and layout that makes drivers feel comfortable inside. The car also boasts many driver assistance systems. 10 of them can be ordered as optional extras. As you'd expect from a Mercedes, it's also a pleasure to drive. The C-Class isn't just suitable for long trips. Its assistance systems also make it a joy to drive in city traffic. Young people can enjoy its benefits too, if the price doesn't scare them off. Lightweight, open top, and fuel efficient. That's how Porsche describes its Boxster Spyder. Our test driver Mathis Kurret wants to see how the Spyder differs from the rest of the Boxster family. He says compared to the Boxster and Boxster S, one of the most important differences is the roof. Here, it's a sunroof you open by hand. Today, he doesn't need it, so it's gone. Even if it doesn't really vanish with a snap of your fingers, it is possible to remove it without pulling out the owner's manual. The Spyder looks like a Boxster S that's been put on a diet. Porsche has trimmed some 150 kilograms off the Roadster, and this new lightness of being can be felt during every kilometer driven. Mathis says that, as is typical of Porsche, the suspension is stiff, even more so than the Boxster S. The chassis has been lowered by 20 millimeters, and the shocks are harder, which he says you feel each time you go over a bump. Our test car is powered by a 3.4-liter six-cylinder direct injection engine. The motor generates 235 kilowatts of power and can hit a top speed of 267 kilometers an hour. It can rocket from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 5.1 seconds. Our tester says the Boxster Spyder sports bucket seats are actually quite comfy, but the car dictates how you sit in them, as you can adjust neither the angle of the backrest nor the height. Mathis says the Boxster Spyder's interior is basic black, as is evident on the spokes of the steering wheel, with just a few splotches of color. He points out where the color of the exterior is mirrored in the trim and in the center console. The seat belts are red too. The dashboard is typical Porsche and doesn't look much different than those in the car maker's other models. The trunk opener is located to the left of the driver's seat. With the roof open, there's space for 130 liters of cargo in the back. Two protruding scoops of the tail make the Spyder look longer and are reminiscent of the Carrera GT. The air inlets at the sides further fuel this impression. The mid-engine Roadster doesn't boast much in the way of equipment. One exception is the mechanical differential lock on the rear axle, which comes as standard and benefits the entire drivetrain. A CD radio does come as standard in the Porsche Boxster. Our tester says a sat-nav is offered as an optional extra, but that it's not necessary in this car. That's because the Porsche Boxster Spyder is only a fine weather car, and when you're zipping along country roads in it, whichever route you take is the right one. In Germany, the Boxster Spyder sells for upwards of 64,000 euros, but Mattes says that's no problem, as no one needs to buy this car. They buy it because they want to. But he tells buyers to purchase a garage too, as the roof provides only minimal protection from the elements. This car isn't made to be left out in the rain.
Dass das Auto auch bei starkem Sturm draußen stehen kann.